Well, I haven't been out of school for too long. I went to the Rhode Island School of Design and I studied illustration, and I did a lot of animatronic stuff while I was there, and I worked with a lot of sculpting teachers, and then right after school I went to work for Hanson Robotics. And
so you went to Dallas? Okay.
From Rhode Island. But I've always moved around because my dad was military. So I've done a lot of sculpting, and then a lot of at Hanson we had to do so many different random things because it was a small company, and so like I was seeing with the animation and some of the mechanics, and I don't know. So I always like to draw, and I always like to sculpt things. I'm making a little realistic doll of my daughter right now. I still get some work from Hanson Robotics. So I made a new head for them. They're making some small walkable robots. So I made a head for them recently, and some illustrations for them.
So Rochelle showed us a video of I think it was Einstein, young Einstein. Yeah. What was your role on that?
For that one, I did I sculpted him. And then I cast him with another my coworker who had a lot more experience casting for robots, but it was the both of us did it, so I learned a lot. And then it also helped just assembling everything. There were people doing the mechanics and the electronics, but I got to help kind of assemble him. And then I did a lot of the animations for him. I also did the hair and like makeup. Kind of like makeup.
You were very talented. That was awesome. That was really great.
And I did there were some other ones like the Xeno. I don't know if you can Google Xeno. It's coming out. I sculpted his hands. They're mass producing him. They just in China. So a couple of them are already sold, but. If you see him, check out his hands.
What's it called?
Xeno.
What is that?
Z-E-N-O. It's a small character robot, and they're using him for autism research and different, mostly for research, and they cost $6,000 or something. I can't remember. So it's not really too much for like, toys. It's mostly for academic stuff right now. But,
so when you say you sculpted the hands or Einstein, what did you start with? Just a drawing?
And I didn't do any pre-drawings for him. We had the core already made, and I sculpted off of that. And so I wanted it to be the right thickness. So you have to make sure I'd have to like poke him a lot and make sure that it's at least a 1/4 inch thick, or because all of these they would cast it in a silicone that had sugar in it actually, so then they would wash it out and the silicone would be very stretchy, and they would make on the core all these the mechanics, so like around the mouth. It's kind of hard to describe because he invented this process, but different like anchor points, I guess. And so I sculpted on top of that core, then we made a mold of that, put that core back into it with this special silicone that had the sugar in there, and we'd have to wash all the sugar out. Well, we cast one to make sure the thickness was right, cast another one with all the mechanics inside of it, and it took him a while to kind of develop all the mechanical side of it, and then so then you attach all there are strings attached to it as well. Sorry, so there are strings attached to the anchor points, and then you attach those to the motors. And the inside of the skull, one of the engineers developed that where there was a place for all the different motors inside the skull, and so that went about like to here, and then they had a wig going over it to kind of hide the back. But you kind of wanted to see the back too, because all the mechanics are so cool. If you hide it, you almost lose something a little bit.
Right.
It's like you almost want to show some of it.
Yeah, transparent skull and hair.
Yeah. Well, they would have the big the board sticking out of the back with all the wires coming out or something. Make it fun. But so that was that process.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
When we look at something like this, one of the things you were doing was checking out Jonathan, see if he could build these kinds of things, get us started. in hindsight, if you were to say optimally, this is the way you go about it, would you start with the mechanics? Would you start with the sculpture? Would you start with those two guys talking to each other? How does it work best?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of hard because all the motors have to fit, so you can try to make it like look completely realistic, but sometimes it doesn't fit.
Right.
So you have to make compromises. But I don't know. In the past, like when we were making the Xeno, they the engineer was also kind of a sculptor in a way for the second model anyway. And so when he was making the body, he did it in CAD and was kind of thinking about how he wanted the body to go at the same time. And so that made it look kind of realistic. But they redid it and now it doesn't look as realistic. But I don't know, probably talking a little bit just about proportionally how long should we set some parameters and then work off of that. Yeah, it probably makes sense to start with the mechanics, I would say, but thinking also about how it's going to look in the long term, just because there's more constraints with this than there is with the...
Well, as an example, the motor here, if it was wider and it made the neck too wide, then either you have to use a different motor or you got to mount it differently and gear it separately or whatever. But you know, Jonathan, when he shipped it initially, it had a clear collar on it, representing, you know, what the neck would have looked like, you know, width-wise.
Well, it seems like that motor is down far enough where it wouldn't really be in the neck. It's more in the...
Well, actually, the neck is from here to here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's a 3-foot macaw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's just the neck.
And then this is the body coming out. It's a little strange. The first time I saw it...
The head looks kind of small for a macaque. It's that big.
It may well be. I don't know.
I don't know. I actually
that was
not
to give you room to poof it up.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we started where we did with Jonathan and you know, this kind of a bird, because we've learned a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you know, we built this relationship that I think he's got the expertise that's going to do us, I think, very well for, you know, the birds.